All right, so, once again, homework's away, right? Not time to do homework, now it's time to make sure that we're doing this right. So, -7, both sides. Die, -2n is less than 8. Divide by -2, n is greater than -4. Notice how I switched the direction of the inequality. When I divide by negative, everything, absolutely everything gets negated. The n becomes positive n. It was -2n, becomes positive n. The sign needs to be negated, which means less than becomes greater than. And 8 divided by -2 is -4. So which of those answers is greater than -4? Choice D, -3.
Yay.
No, and that's exactly the point that we're driving at here. If they want you to put C. -4 is not an answer, because check this out, ready? Is -4 greater than -4? No, it's not. So if we were doing equations with an equal sign, -4 would have been the answer. But with an inequality, we need to look at our answer in the context of the situation and see if it works. Yes?
I did put D, but could you put A?
Is A supposed to be
Yes, A
negative?
is greater than -4 also.
So there's
Okay.
two answers.
Yes. Any other questions? Yes?
Is there ever gonna be a time where they like give, for example, like give us the same exact question, but it's like greater than or equal to?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And what
Something
they'll
you
typically
can,
do with that is they'll say something like, what is the smallest or largest integer for which?
Oh,
Okay? Yeah, we'll come across
so
plenty
is
of
it like
those.
smallest integer, then you would put -6, wouldn't it? Yeah.
-3 would be the smallest integer that satisfies it, yes.
Okay.
God bless. Okay, in the space below, graph each of the following. -2, 2, this is a bounded interval, it's the stuff in between. The one on the left is filled in, the one on the right is not. And there's my graph. This is your walk like an Egyptian guy. 2, fill it in, that way, 4, that way. You got nothing on me, Rafferty, nothing. Next, simplify each expression, 27n to the 12. I'm gonna do this very quickly in my head, that's 4, is that a squared or a cube? All right, so that's 6, 7, 4, 24, 3, 7, 5, 3x squared. And this is
I don't know how
gonna
to
be
do that one.
5 halves to the third, I'll do it in a minute. 125 over 8. Okay, so how do I do this one here? I squared 2x cubed, which makes 4x to the 6th. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Right, so far so good?
Yeah.
If you got A right, you should be able to do that part. Now I'm going to do 6x times 4x to the 6th, which is 24x to the 7th. You with me on that? Good. Divided by 8x to the 5th. 24 divided by 8 is 3. X to the 7th over x to the 5th is x squared. Okay?
Oh, that's actually simple.
Okay. All right. Next, write an algebraic expression for 7 less than, twice the number n. Magic word, less than. Last shall be first, and
First
first shall be last. Very good. 2n minus 7.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did that.
I wrote 2.
I did that
Yeah.
right.
Right,
but
what
I
we
thought it
don't
was
want
wrong.
is 7 minus 2n.
I thought it was gonna be wrong because I thought it would have a less than sign.
No. No, it says write an algebraic expression. If it would have said something like solve the inequality, then you would think that way. And that's a really, really good point that I tend to screw up and not mention enough, so I'm really glad you mentioned it. Okay, let's go here to today's lesson. Now, word problems. Kids hate word problems. I wish I had a photograph of your face when you just made that expression.
word problems.
I would post it from now until I retire, which is only 331 more teaching days, and have everybody look at the look on a kid's face when we do word problems. And I was just, the reason I hesitated there is, I just said to myself, how opposite my face will look when I retire. I will be so happy and you look so like you look cute. Now, what if I said to you that I think I can help you a lot with word problems?
Thanks.
Right? What if I said to you, I really think you can get a lot better at these in the course of the next week or two, okay?
You're lying.
No, I'm telling the truth. I really am telling the truth. Look, a great analogy to this is, and this is one of the most analogous things on the face of the earth. I coached wrestling for a very long time. And I was so very blessed to learn from a phenomenal coach how to wrestle and how to become a better coach. In the course of that time, it was painfully obvious how much this mimicked life. Did you play football last year?
Yeah,
Okay, so then you know Coach Frank.
yeah.
He's one of my best friends. And I coached wrestling for a really long time. We've been very good friends for a very long time. And I coached wrestling for a long time when he was the football coach and the baseball coach. And we coached baseball together. But he had no respect for wrestling. None. And he would walk into the wrestling room once in a while and smell and go, it stinks in here. And he'd shut the door, and he could never really respect wrestling. And then when my own sons got old enough to wrestle in school, just like you get homework every day, I practice every day. We don't cancel practice. So I knew that if I wanted to watch my sons wrestle, that I needed someone to coach with me. So that when I went to watch my sons wrestle, somebody could run practice for the kids. So Coach Friend being such a good friend, and him being a very good athlete, and football and wrestling kind of go together, I said, listen, got any interest in coaching wrestling with me? He said, anything that gets me out of the house. So he came down and we started coaching wrestling together for like the next 12 or 14 years, whatever it is. And he came up to me at the end of the year and he said, I had no idea what wrestling is like. He said, this is an amazing sport. He said that this teaches you more about life than anything that he's ever seen. Now, here's a great example of how wrestling teaches you not only about life, but about word problems. In wrestling, we want to win, obviously. And sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, and you try to pin a guy right away in wrestling. Like, it's like you think you have to win in 10 seconds, or you think you have to win in 15 seconds. And if you do that, yes, you might pull it off, but more often than not, you expose yourself to danger. And when you expose yourself to danger, you harm yourself, you don't help yourself. So in wrestling, one of the classic positions, you start the match, everybody's on their feet. But then for the second and the third period, by and large, kids start in what they call referee's position. In the referee's position, the guy on the bottom is on his knees and on his hands. So he's up in what you would call a base, okay? And the guy on top gets on top of him and puts his hand on the elbow, another hand on the belly button, and then he's behind his waist. And then the ref blows the whistle and you start. If the guy on top tries to pin a guy when he's up in his base, it almost never works. And it is highly likely that you will lose, at least that situation. It's highly likely that because the guy is up in his base and because he hasn't been broken down, not only can you do something to him, but he can also do something to you. So the best way to wrestle is not to try to pin the guy right away. It's to try to break the guy down. If you can break him down so that he's flat on the mat, there's nothing he can do to you. Now you have complete control. So once you break him down, you have complete control. And once you have the complete control and he's broken down, you can now try to get the win. Now the problem with word problems is people try to figure out the answer right away. And you shouldn't. You should break the problem down. When you first read a word problem, what you should be saying to yourself is, okay, let me break this whole thing down into its pieces. And then once I have it all broken down, let me put the things where I want, rearrange them so that I can get the pin. In wrestling, that's what you do. You break the guy down flat, you trap a wrist. Then once you trap a wrist, depending on how he reacts to that wrist being trapped, if this arm comes up, you do a half Nelson. If this arm comes in, you do a crossface. If this arm goes here, you do a crossface. If this arm comes here, you do a bar arm. There's a situation, everything that he does, once you trap that wrist, if he tries to pull it down tight so you can't get it out, you put it between his legs. There's everything he does with that wrist, there's something you can do to start to beat him. When you do a word problem, do not try to get it right. Heard what I just said? Don't try to get it right. Try to break it down. Then once you try to break it down, you try to grab something you can use. And then once you use that, once you grab the thing you can use, you start building it up until you can finish the move. And only then do you actually try to pin the guy. If you go about doing word problems like that, you'll be in great shape. So, first thing we do, every time we do a word problem, is we read it for the sake of reading it. Length of a rectangle is 5 less than twice the width of the rectangle. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 44, find the dimensions and find the area. So, the first thing is this. Anytime I ever do a word problem, and that word problem references a shape, I always draw the shape. Now, given the fact that I look at how much you doodle in class, you should like that step. Okay? So, I draw my rectangle. Now, once that rectangle is drawn, the very next thing I always do is I go back and I want to underline everything of importance in the problem. This is the breaking down. Just like in wrestling, when you break down the guy that used to be in his base, get him flat on the mat, this is how you get the word problem flat on the mat. You take everything that you think might be important and you put it down. Length is 5 less than twice the width. Clearly, that's important. Whoever made up this problem, put it there for a reason. So you're going to need that. Next, perimeter is 44. Okay, so I want to take, and then it tells you what to do. Find this and find that. And I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. I drew the picture. Now let me label things that are inside the picture. Now, notice the first sentence. The first sentence says, the length of the rectangle is blah, blah, blah of the width. So, does anybody here know what the width is?
No.
No. So since I don't know what it is, I'm just gonna call it W. Now, I can express the length in terms of the width. The length is 5 less than, keyword, last shall be first shall be last. 5 less than twice the width. So how do I write an expression for the length? Spencer?
L equals 2W minus 5.
Yeah, don't write L equals, just write 2W minus 5. Okay? Now, in a rectangle, aren't the sides across from each other congruent or equal?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if this is W,
This is
W, that's 2W minus 5, what's this?
2W
W
minus
minus
5.
5.
Now, if you have struggled with word problems in the past, what I strongly suggest that you do is very lightly or with broken lines, draw right through it. The reason I suggest that is because you've used up that part of the word problem. You don't need to think about that anymore. It's been used. You've tracked it. Now the next thing I want you to do is look at the other thing you underlined and think about that. Perimeter of the rectangle is 44. What does perimeter mean? Everybody.
The outside.
The outside. And what do you have to do to figure out the perimeter?
Add up all the stuff.
Add up all the sides. So let's do exactly that. This side plus this side. So I've done the top, the right, plus the bottom, plus the left has to equal 44. And then I can take, and I can cross that piece of the word problem out. Now, if you notice, and perhaps it would have been better for me to cross out in blue. If you notice, okay, everything that was underlined is now crossed out. And once I get to that step, I'm now ready to pin the problem. I'm now ready for the victory, because I have completely broken this problem down. And if you've noticed, I've now changed the word problem into an equation like you would have gotten on the quiz. The same kind of equations that you're getting right every single day. Is this a same side situation or an opposite side? Same side. 2W, 3W, 5W, 6W. Minus 10 is equal to 44. Opposite, add 10. Die. 6W is 54. Dividing by 6, W is 9. Okay? So I think you should be able to comfortably get through that, don't you? Right? Okay, I think once you get to the red equation, it all kind of flows pretty quickly. So I come over here and I say that the width is 9. But if you look, A says find the dimensions. What are dimensions of a rectangle?
It's all the sides, like the
Length and width.
Yeah.
All right, and if it was a cube, it would be length, width, and height. Okay? So the width is 9, what's the length?
13.
13, good, because I plug in the 9 here for W. 2 times 9 is 18, minus 5 is 13. Now, one of the things I love about this is I can check my answer right now. 9 and 13 is 22. The other two sides are gonna add up to 22. 22 and 22 is 44, and it wanted me to get 44. So I know right now I got the question right. The last part says, find the area of that rectangle. How do you find the area of a rectangle? Length times width. And just to show you how to do this in your head, we can use the distributive property. What's 10 times 9? 90. What's 3 times 9? What's 90 and 27? 17. All right, so I just rewrote 13 as 10 plus 3, and then I just do the distributive property. I do the 10, and then I do the 3. Janelle?
For the, perimeter thing, tonight, like, I did 2 times 2W minus 5 and plus.
And then,
2W.
yeah, you can do that too, absolutely. Yep. All right, folks, hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo, ta-ta. Arrivederci. Remember, the whole key, break it down, do not try to solve it right away. Most kids would have written 2W minus 5 equals 44, and they'd have gotten it wrong.
You're not wrong.